Welcome back to our study of Matthew. We are picking up in chapter 22, and we're going to begin reading at verse 34. So if you'll read with me, please, in Matthew chapter 22, beginning at verse 34. When the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they came together, and one of them, an expert in the law, asked a question to test him. "Teacher, which command in the law is the greatest?" He said to him, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and most important command. The second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets depend on these two commands." Now, I'd like to, if I may, talk for just a second about loving the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. Now, Romaine and I, just to give you a little background, have been working in 1 Corinthians together. And we talked for a little bit about the heart of the Father, the heart of a father. Now, we know that good fathers want what's best for their children. So I think about this command, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And I think about Father God. And He is a good, good Father. So I know He has my best interest at heart. So He's going to give me this command to love Him with all my heart. You know why? Because He's the one that provides. He's the one that protects. And it's in my best interest, right? To do so with all my soul, and my mind, my total being, my heart, my mind, my will and emotions, everything submit to the Lord. That's what we're talking about, because it's in our best interest. And when we do that, it, for me personally, brings me into perfect peace. Now, I know there's more that goes with this, but I want to say one other thing before I turn it over to Pete. The second that Jesus said to him was to love your neighbor as yourself. And I instantly was reminded of a dream that I know that the Lord gave me many years ago. Probably 15 years ago. And I've told you about this dream before, but it was so profound. I remember like I had it last night. So for those of you that have heard this before, just humor me. For those of you that haven't, I hope that it touches you. I was standing in the middle of a desert, dirty area. And I was wearing a white gown. And I know Jesus was standing beside me. I knew it was Jesus because He was glowing in all white. Glowing. And there was a man out ahead that I know very well that was walking toward us. And he was filthy, dirty. Like he had been working outside, rolling in the mud, filthy dirty. And he was walking toward us. And in my heart, I'm saying, don't touch him. You're going to get him dirty. Don't touch him. And as he comes up in his filthy, dirty clothes, and he was sweaty, dirty. He a mess, y'all. Jesus hugged him in his glowing white clothes, didn't think a thing about getting dirty, sweaty, yucky. And he looked down at me and he said, "This is how you love." Now, I have not forgotten that dream, and I know that dream was from the Lord. I know it was from the Lord because I remember it like yesterday, and it's been more than 15 years since I've had it. I know it was the Lord because it absolutely aligns with his character, doesn't it? I know it was the Lord because that's what he did for me. That's what he did for me. And so he's teaching me along the way. So when we think about love your neighbor as yourself, I can't help but think about that dream. Because I surely wanted Jesus to hug me when I was at my most filthiest. That's what I did. I cried out to him with my heart. And so there's a lot that goes with this, I know, and Pete's going to help us through this. But for me, this is about a submission of the heart. You know, that's so important because we can say things. We can say things. And we can put on an act and we can pretend for a while. But eventually our heart's going to tell on us. Our heart's going to tell on us because out of the overflow of our heart, our mouth speaks. And so our words will really tell on us, so to speak. So when we think about this command of love, there's so much to it. There's so much to it. But it's speaking to my heart right now. And what it's telling me right now, what this word is telling me right now, is it's reminding me of the goodness of the Lord and his mercy and his faithfulness, which is what we just talked about a little while ago. So if you'll get us back on track, please, and you'll teach us.
He's actually quoting from Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 5. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. That's what Deuteronomy 6:5 says. And something that interests me about this is you have two denominations here that are trying to trap Jesus. Sadducees, they tried to trap him with their little scenario, and it didn't work. And the Pharisees are seeing it, so they're going to try to trap him by asking him which is the greatest commandment. You know, as I was looking at this afternoon, I thought this is a major problem today because most of the church people are breaking this command. Look at it again. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, not half-heartedly. All your soul, mind, will, emotions, all your soul. All your mind, think, your thoughts. That's how you love God. So how many people fall short of that? Don't answer. It's easy for us to point a finger at someone else, but what God wants us to do is examine our own hearts and look at our own self. And this is what Jesus is doing to this Pharisee, all right? You want to know? I mean, you're the guy that prides yourself in the law. You're the most strict of all the denominations. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. But then I won't stop there. I'll just give you the second one too. Love your neighbor like yourself. On these, if you do these things, then you will have fulfilled God's will. The law will be fulfilled. If you can love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength, and your neighbor as yourself, then you don't have to worry about anything else. You got it covered. It's not works. You understand? People want to put their attention on works and want to see how much they can do for the Lord, or don't do this, don't do this, do this. This is actually just dealing with a heart issue. Not the body, a heart issue. Do I love God? How much do I love God? Does He have all my heart? Have I died to self with all your soul? Soul is really for yourself is expressing. You follow me? So it's a pretty profound statement that he's saying to this man. Now, how are you going to reply to that kind of statement? Lord, help me. Give me the wisdom, the understanding, and the sensitivity of spirit to be more like you so I can please you.
I want to talk about loving the Lord just a minute before we move on. For those of you, for some of us, I'm going to ask you to jog your memory back a little bit. Think back. Remember falling in love for the first time? You remember what it feels like when you fall in love? Your absolute attention is captivated. Every part of you is captivated by the one that you love. Where your thoughts go to the one that you love, your emotions. I mean, you think about the one you love and your heart starts beating fast. You know what I'm talking about. May get sweaty palms, nervous stomach. You see the person and you just get absolutely weak in the knees. You remember that feeling, some of you? Now think about that in the natural, and now let's take it to the spiritual. What happens when you absolutely fall head over heels in love with Jesus and He captivates your thoughts? What happens? You think about that and think about it in the natural. The one that you're so deeply in love with that you see and you think, am I standing up still? And your heart's beating fast. Your mind, your will, your emotions, everything is altered by that love. What this command is asking us to do is to be in love with the Lord. You know what happens when you're in love with Jesus? When you're really in love with Jesus, you seek intimacy. When you're in love in the natural, you seek intimacy. When you seek intimacy with Jesus, what happens? You're in that secret place, right? You want to commune with the one that you love, right? You want to be joined together with the one that you love. And when you do that, what happens? Production, right? You produce, union produces. I know this naturally speaking. Well, spiritually it does the same thing. So you see the beauty in this? So to me, we can read over this and say, oh yeah, I had to memorize that. I quoted that when I was little. But when I read this, Pete just mentioned it's a heart issue. It's a love story. It's an absolute, and for those of us ladies that like a little romance, that's what this is. And you think I think even about the dream that Jesus gave me. That's a love story right there. And out of that love story comes production, comes intimacy. You know what we get to produce? All that fruit right there. You see that fruit up there? We get to produce all that fruit when we're in union with the Lord, with the Holy Spirit. And you know what that does? That helps others around us. And you know what else? It benefits us too. So, yes, fall in love with Jesus. Let him captivate you. When you think about Jesus, does your heart beat a little faster? Think about it.
You know, in the second chapter of the Revelation, where John is told to write a letter to the messenger of the church, the first church, Ephesus, is commended for its works. But it had a heart issue. He said, I have something against you. You left your first love. And here's what I see happen. People, they hear about Jesus, and they get turned on to Jesus, and then they get in church, and they get so busy doing church stuff, and just get involved with taking care of business, the humdrum things of the religious system and all this type thing, to move away from the first love. And I think this is where many people are today. They're doing works. They're doing good works. But the Lord would say, you've left your first love. What's more important than God? See, this is where preachers really have to watch it with ministry, because if you're not cautious, the ministry will become your first love, and not the Lord. You can get so caught up doing the things of the ministry that you're not spending time with God. Now, you can evaluate how much you love the Lord by how much time you want to spend with the Lord. That's a no-brainer. I can say I love God all I want to, but if I'm just doing everything all day long, just what I want to do, then I'm just talking out of my head. You know, I was thinking as Heather was talking, you know, I'm first introduced to the Lord. I grew up in church, and I wanted to love the Lord because I didn't want to go to hell. So who do I really love? Mm-hmm. You understand? In other words, I'm saying God, but the truth is it's me. But I know when if I can use this phrase, it's not a good one, when I fell in love with the Lord. Because it was absolutely life-changing. And I was so consumed with Him that I didn't want to do anything else. I wanted to read the Bible all the time. I didn't want to read the Bible. I want to be talking with the Lord, and I got way out of balance, if you can. But all I want to do is spend time with the Lord. I'm talking about hours a day, many hours a day. I just want to be by myself with Him. Why? There's a passion there. And in those intimate times, revelation's flowing. You're getting to know Him. Mm-hmm. You understand? You can't love someone if you don't know them. You can be infatuated. And that's where most people are. Most people get married out of infatuation, not love. Because you really don't know the person until you start spending much time with that person. You spend a great deal of time, and the more time you spend with that person, the more you see about that person, the more you see of their character, the more you learn of their ways. And when we're talking about God, the more you know Him, the more you love Him. You understand that? What is there about God that we don't love? Now, He does things differently than us, so we have to learn Him. But this is what I've learned about the Lord. Even though His thoughts are so superior to ours and His ways are so superior, they're better. The flesh doesn't think so. But when it all plays out, you'll find if we have followed the Spirit of God, it would have always been better for us. Why is that? because God was looking out for our best interest. But it's amazing to me how God can speak to a person and the person ignore what God's saying. Knowing that God's right. And so if you don't listen to him, then you will see some consequences down the line. Not God doing it to you. God was warning you to try to keep you out of those bad situations. But we have to learn to love God enough to trust God. If I truly love you, I'll trust you. But you're going to have to earn my trust by showing me a genuine love. And God shows us genuine love. No strings attached. You understand? He lays everything out in the open. There is no deception with God. This is how I am. Can you love that? What if we would be like that? See, that's what God's expecting out of us. But God is love. So if you want an example of love, you have to go to God, not to the world. The world has their own idea of love, erotic, sensual. God's is absolutely pure. I love you so much I want to give to you, not asking anything in return. Now we're talking about love. Now what if a man and a woman entered into a relationship like that where both of them love each other so much they just want to give? Then you don't have the takers. You're giving. You're giving because you want to, not out of duty, not out of obligation. Well, I'd better do this. If I don't get that birthday card, they're gonna get mad at me. I'm telling you, that shouldn't affect you. If that affects you, you love you more. God's wanting us to get to the point where we love him with all our heart. You love God whether things are going good or bad. Just know God's not doing it to you. So you love him anyway. I'm going to tell you, when you really learn who God is and start developing in that love relationship with God, it's life-changing. I know. And I don't know him nearly like I want to know him. But the more I know him, the more I love him.
Okay, very good.
Don't leave your first love. If you have, get back to him.
Very good. Verse 41. While the Pharisees were together, Jesus questioned them. What do you think about the Messiah? Whose son is he? David's, they told him. He asked them, how is it then that David, inspired by the Spirit, calls him Lord? The Lord declared to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I put your enemies under your feet. If David calls him Lord, how then can the Messiah be his son? No one was able to answer him at all. And from that day, no one dared to question him anymore. How about that?
I like this.
Mm-hmm.
The Sadducees came trying to trap him. Pharisees came trying to trap him. So he turns the table. Let me ask you a question. Feel like some dust went down my throat or something. Who is Jesus David's son? Is the Christ David's son? Let me put it that way. Is the Christ David's son? Is the Messiah going to come from David? That's what he's asking. Oh, yeah. Well, why is David calling him Lord? Why would you call your son Lord? Because nobody can answer that question. You know what it did? It said from that time forward, they asked him no more questions. You know why? A wiser than Solomon was on the scene. You want to try to trap me? Then you're going to be trapped yourself. You understand? Yes. It's amazing how people think they can outsmart God. You may outsmart a man, you won't outsmart the Holy Spirit. You understand? We need to keep these things in perspective. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. You need to get this established in your heart that you don't have to prove anything. If you know the truth, just walk it out. And if other people think you're crazy, you know they're the ones that's crazy. So just walk it out. Don't pay any attention. And it took me a while to learn that I don't have to convince people of truth. All I have to do is present it. If they want to accept it, that's fine. If they don't, that's fine. Paul, writing to the Corinthians, he gave them the instruction, and then he said this: if you want to be ignorant, be ignorant. You can follow the instruction or you can reject the instruction. And that's the way the Lord does with us. He doesn't put our hand up behind our back and say, you have to do this. He says, this is the way. Walk in it. But if you choose not to, then that's your prerogative. If you want to walk down a path of destruction, then you can do it. But I would recommend that you walk down this path, because that one's going to end in heartache for you. If you follow me? Mm-hmm. Get our minds on the Lord. Stay with the Lord. Quit trying to... I better watch how I say this. It's all right to ask the Lord questions to get answers, but never question the Lord about His integrity and His judgment. Who are you to advise God? But we're doing it on a daily basis. We're telling God what He should do. People are getting mad at God if He doesn't do it. Father knows best. This is where I love Him enough, I'm going to trust Him, because I know His thoughts toward me are right. They're not evil. He has a future and a hope that's going to be glorious if I'll cooperate with Him. So you can ask God questions about things you don't understand. I'll give you a contrast in this. John the Baptist's father, Zacharias, when the angel Gabriel came to him, told him that Elizabeth was going to become pregnant and give birth to basically the forerunner of Jesus, okay? Zachariah, my paraphrase, how do I know you're telling the truth? Isn't that what he's saying? Give me a sign to prove what you're saying is true. Gabriel said, I'll give you a sign. You're not going to talk till the baby's born. But that same angel, Gabriel, went to a virgin and said, you're going to become pregnant. She didn't say, give me a sign. She said, how? That's a legitimate question. Wouldn't you think? And you know what? He gave her a legitimate answer. Zachariah was saying, prove it. They're saying, explain it. You follow me? This is the way we have to be before God. We don't go to God to question Him. But if there's something that you need to understand, you lack understanding. If any lack wisdom, let him ask God. You understand? We can ask God. We can ask God questions, but never question the integrity of God. Never question the ways of God. Follow the ways of God. Don't question them. Okay?
Very good. Chapter 23. Then Jesus spoke to the crowds and to his disciples. The scribes and the Pharisees are seated in the chair of Moses. Therefore, do whatever they tell you and observe it. But don't do what they do, because they don't practice what they teach. They tie up heavy loads that are hard to carry and put them on people's shoulders, but they themselves aren't willing to lift a finger to move them. They do everything to be observed by others. They enlarge their phylacteries and lengthen their tassels. They love the place of honor at banquets, the front seats in the synagogues, greetings in the marketplaces, and to be called rabbi by people.
Just stop a minute, because we're going to have to break this down. There's so much in it. Okay.
Let's do.
Let's go back to the very beginning. You know, as I was looking at this today, I was thinking that what they're doing right here is the same thing that's going on today. The people want to be seen. They do things to be seen. Look at me. Look at what I do. We want to hang our credentials on the wall to show that, put our posters out there that we're this, we're that, we're the other, and we want to take all these names on ourselves. I'm Bishop so-and-so, I'm Apostle so-and-so, I'm Prophet so-and-so. Learn who you are, and you'll forget the titles. If you just learn who you are, you won't need a title. I'm adamant on that. We'll get to that in a minute. But here's what he said about the religious leaders, the religious elite. You put burdens on people. You're putting demands on people, telling them they should do this, they should do that, they should do the other. You don't do it. Mm-hmm. You won't lift your hand to do what they say. Listen, don't you expect somebody to do what you won't do. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have to learn that. Leadership is to serve, not lord. You serve people. So why would I ask somebody to do something I wouldn't do? It's not fair. It's not right. We're all servants. I don't care what position you're in, you're a servant of the Lord. So act like a servant instead of the Lord. Anyway, he goes on in all this, that he says, but all their works are for show. Everything you're doing is for show. I've been around this, and to me, it's just repulsive. Makes you spiritually sick on your stomach to see the garbage happening, because you know it's all show, that they're not really interested in God. We want to show you how many scriptures we can carry in our little pouches. We want to show you how long we can pray and how beautiful our prayers are and all this type thing. And when we get together, we want into positions of recognition. You know, the head table. We don't have a head table. Have you noticed that? At our celebration, we don't have a head table. Jesus is the head. Everybody sit where you want to. You understand? Because we're not looking for recognition. We've got to get out of this mentality. Christians should not be looking for recognition. They're looking for a place to serve God. Lord, how do you want me to serve you? In whatever position you put me in, then I'm going to serve you. And I know that if I serve you well, you're going to think that's a pretty good investment, and you'll give me more to do. That's the way it goes, you understand? And so, get out of this mentality of doing things to be seen. The greatest reward is when you do it, nobody knows it. You do it behind the scenes. I'm going to tell you what makes a church really go and hold together is the people doing and nobody knows what they're doing. People that are praying, the people that are doing the menial task that people would call menial task. The people that are doing all these things is actually the heartbeat. It's what's thriving. And especially if they're doing it for the Lord. You understand? Sometimes I'll pull a vacuum cleaner out and vacuum, or I'll take a mop the bathroom. I'm doing it for the Lord. Nobody knows it. You didn't know I did that, did you? Yeah. Because I want this place, I want God to be pleased with the place. Okay? If I see something on the floor, I pick it up. Because I want the house of God to be presentable. Not standing up and saying, I did this, I did this, I did that. That's not what it's all about. But I'm telling you what, people can get all riled up if you don't put their name in the bulletin. I've seen this happen. You have a work day at church and you say, thanks so-and-so and thank you. I want to thank so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so for all they did. And then somebody get mad because their name wasn't in the bulletin. Well, I've got an answer for that. Don't do the bulletin. Are you doing it for recognition? Or are you doing it for God?